People aren't using Google search anymore to look for things. They're using ChatGPT because it's no longer about how much you can pay to rank on the first page. It's about value and how many people are looking at those same articles and URLs to find information. And if the majority of people are looking at these links, it doesn't matter if they're not paying for ads. You're using OpenAI and just in general ChatGPT when you start one chat at a time. That's very much how Operator is. You start one task at a time. Whereas I think that in order to keep up with what we need to do and how fast of a pace humans already set when it comes to working, you have to be able to have multiple tabs up and be able to run these simultaneously. And if anything, get alerts from high risk to low risk tasks so that you can stay human in the loop, but you can do more at the same time. There's a little bit of a lag between how fast I can do something and how fast the operator can.
Ashley, this is an emergency episode. It's an emergency operator episode. I'm excited.
I mean, yeah, 911, let's go.
We talked about Operator last week. We were thinking about an idea of how to come up with a podcast. And we had a time scheduled, but it just wasn't going to work out. And then we've done it independently. So I've been able to watch you use Operator on the back end. And I have to say, my mind is a little bit blown.
Yeah, it kind of got a little bit pushed under the rug because they released it during their 12 days of giveaways and feature updates during the holidays. So, you know, this cool thing's been out there and existing in the wild for a month, a little over 2 months now, actually, and not a lot of people know about it. So I think that this warrants an emergency episode.
For the people that don't know what Operator is, could you give it in basic terms what it actually does?
Yep. So this is OpenAI's first AI agent, which can operate the internet on your browser in live time and perform tasks autonomously. So if you've ever had, an IT issue and you work for a company and they had to use AnyDesk or some remote access where you have somebody operating your mouse pad in front of you and you can see it happening from your computer, that is what Operator is for OpenAI. It's very cool.
Mind-blowing. And today we're going to jump into 3 separate examples. So the way this will work is we'll be recording this, and in post we'll edit in the clips of Ashley actually taking you through these as well on the live demos. And we're just going to have kind of discussions around them. So we're talking drafting emails through Asana project boards, summarizing calls around Asana, and then lastly, training agents to find suitable times to correlate calendars and update agendas as well, which I'm super excited to jump into each of them individually. But I'd love to take a kind of macro view. First of all, you've obviously had around a month of hands-on experience with it. What's the good, the bad, and the ugly?
I would say the good is, as far as staying human in the loop, there's nothing more human in the loop than watching this autonomously perform these tasks in front of you. So you can quite literally sit there and watch your screen move and watch every aspect of this workflow to ensure that it is compliant and up to your standards. I would also say another good thing is OpenAI has already built in this configuration when, if you're using Operator and it is performing a task autonomously and you go to leave that screen and do something else, it will flash in your face and say, hey, we recommend you stay on here. Don't change your screen. Do you want to proceed? So it almost kind of insists on you remaining human in the loop and not taking your eye off what it's doing. So it's even saying, hey, we're in beta. You need to watch what you're doing here and just make sure that, you are agreeing and signing off on every task. I would say the bad is, there's so much power behind Operator, but you have to take it one task at a time. So if you're using OpenAI and just in general ChatGPT, when you start one chat at a time, that's very much how Operator is. You start one task at a time. Whereas I think that in order to keep up with what we need to do and how fast of a pace humans already set when it comes to working, you have to be able to have multiple tabs up and be able to run these simultaneously. And if anything, get alerts from high risk to low risk tasks so that you can stay human in the loop, but you can do more at the same time. There's a little bit of a lag between how fast I can do something and how fast the operator can. And I think that that's natural, right? This is beta. This is the first AI agent that can do this in a safe manner. But for that $200 per month price tag, I would want and expect Operator to be able to handle more than one task at a time and do it well. So I would say that's the good and bad. And on a macro level, this is wild because this just shows you how fast we are moving. The ability for especially people managers to actually manage workloads of their employees and be held accountable for the output that their teams perform. This takes that to a whole other level, because if you think about it, pre-operator, you had a lot of people managers that had to, one, get on phone calls with people and then create summaries and then email summaries and then make sure that their employees were updating Asana boards, for instance. And all of that is not maintaining the output. All of that is busy work. And so having an agent that can actually do those things so that you can focus on the output and quality is a game changer. This is a wild, wild time that we're in, and we're going to see a lot of people lean into this and become AI-enabled managers, and they're going to fly past everyone else because they are just learning how to lean into this technology and use it to automate that busy work so that they can remain in their strategic positions.
With you coming up with these 3 specific examples, was this born out of something that you do on a daily basis anyways, and you were like, okay, how can I automate and how can I try this with Operator?
I was really just trying to think of what are 3 use cases where I can get an audience that is probably a little weary of Operator, but would benefit the most. And so that's why I keep coming back to people managers. I'm talking, C-suite, I'm talking directors, people who have lots and lots of pressure on them and are totally in charge of the output of their teams, and they have these tools and they have access to them, but they might not be optimizing them. So that's really where I kind of had this idea of what can I show people and how to use an AI agent that is not over the top and isn't, automating a ton of really high level, creating board of directors slide decks, for example, or preparing, pitch decks, but something that is enough for them to say, you know what, I don't know about Operator, but I do know that I spend a ton of my time doing these 3 things that she's talking about today. And it's worth me at least buying a 1-month subscription of Operator to see if this does change my life or not. Just that little question is what I was trying to get at.
Interesting. And I love the fact that you've kind of kept it tangible and easy as well so people can conceptualize it. And I think that's especially prevalent in this first example. So the first example is all about drafting emails with the Asana project board. So I'll just kind of read out the prompt and then we'll switch to the actual video and then have a discussion about it afterwards. But prompt you put in Operator, you're an AI project assistant, extract key details from the Asana project board link below, summarize progress, and draft a professional email update. And then the only things that you had to input was the link to the Asana project board, the URL, your own email, the recipient and project name, as well as your sign off at the bottom, whatever you wanted that to be. And I just went and done the process. So let's switch to that just now.
To get started, all you need up is your Asana project board and then the Operator application from OpenAI. So let's get started. Okay, to get started, you only need 2 tabs up. One is the Operator tab, and then the other is the Asana project board tab that you are going to be sending yourself an email summary on. So I'm going to head back to Operator and I'm going to paste in the first prompt. I'm not going to send it because we haven't fully filled it in yet. So this prompt reads, you are an AI project assistant, extract key details from the Asana project board linked below, summarize progress, and draft a professional email update. So we have 3 parts to fill in with this prompt before we can actually allow the Operator agent to take over. So the first part is the URL, the Asana URL, which is why I had this board up. So all I'm going to do is click share and then copy the project URL link. And I'm going to head back to Operator and paste it into the brackets. So this is what step 1 should look like now. And then if we go down to recipients and subject line, I am going to type in my email for the email recipients. And so my email, amazing. And then the project name is going to be in the subject line. So again, I'm going to head back to the Asana tab. This is the name of my project board. So I'm going to copy this, head back over to Operator, and then paste this in. And then if I scroll down, the last part that I need to fill in is actually around my email signature line. So obviously this is very unique depending on what your email subject line is. I am going to do this the lazy way where I actually just go to my Gmail and copy and paste this in. So now I'm good to go. Everything is filled in. And now I'm going to send this. And this is really where the agentic behavior starts. So 1 prompt with multiple steps. So it's going to analyze that Asana project board, identify the project name and the goals, and then draft an email to me with all of this filled in. Now, I've talked about this before, but one of the reasons I really love Operator's agent is, or rather I should say OpenAI's Operator agent, is because I can be human in the loop the entire time if I really wanted to. So it's showing me right in front of me what it's doing. So it just navigated to that page that I was on. This is my Asana project board, and it is going through section by section. You can actually click the arrow right here, and it'll tell you the steps that it's on. So navigating to Asana project board, exploring the overview, reviewing project tasks, reviewing task statuses and progress, reviewing tasks for updates and attention. Now it's actually summarizing the project tasks and next steps. And it is searching for a professional email template from Microsoft. And again, if I wanted to enlarge this, which I will, you can take control at any time. So if I didn't like the professional email template that it was currently Googling, I could interfere and reroute it if I wanted to, but I'm okay with it looking. I'm actually kind of curious to see what kind of email it comes up with. Maybe I like it more than my own. So it looks like it's now on its 4th website looking for that perfect professional email template, which I love because it means it's actually able to search for items it needs without asking me. So it's performing a best practice on professional emails. So I did give it the subject line, the to, and the body of the email, but it's doing its own research to see what the best way to format that email is. So it's actually training itself on how to be even better. And now it's actually logging into my Gmail. So in a moment, it should ask me to take control over and log in, unless I've logged in so many times that it has it down at this point, which it looks like it does. So for reference, I have been using Operator now for about a month, and I've logged in a few times. So that is probably the only reason why I don't need to formally log in this time, is it already has that stored in its memory. And now it is actually going to draft up that entire email. Okay. And it looks like from the original prompt that I gave it to the one that it actually is showing now, it did change the format of the body. So in my original prompt, I said to send an email summarizing the completed tasks and milestones, highlight pending tasks, roadblocks, and risks, outline next steps and deadlines. So I didn't give it section by section. I just told it what to summarize in total. And it looks like it broke it down into key highlights, task updates, roadblocks, and next steps. So a little bit more guidance than I actually gave it in the first place, which is amazing. And then it's saying, would you like me to send it? So I've already reviewed this email. So I'm going to go ahead and click yes, and then click send. And it's actually going to send this email now, which is crazy to think about. So in a moment, we should actually see, yep, that it's sending down here. So it actually did send. And just to further confirm, what we're going to do is we're actually going to log into that email so that we can see what it ended up looking like. So this is the email that it ended up sending, exactly what it looked like in Operator's view, which is really, really cool. So that is how you actually automate sending project updates from Asana to your email, which is great. You can also do this through Teams, through Slack, but that's just one way to do it, and the foundational blocks on how to automate communication around project management. All right, stick around for part 2.
The world is changing fast. AI is transforming industries, and those who don't adapt will get left behind. If you're not actively learning AI, you're already falling behind your competition. But here's the good news: you don't have to do it alone. When you join the AI Report free community, you'll get immediate access to powerful AI resources that will help you stay ahead. First, you'll receive the first 5 issues of our pro newsletter packed with AI insights trusted by over 400,000 professionals at Google, Microsoft, and OpenAI. You'll also get 3 exclusive AI guides from HubSpot designed to help you work smarter and integrate AI into your daily workflow. This includes a complete guide to using ChatGPT at work so you can start impressing your co-workers immediately. Secondly, 200 AI-powered income ideas to help you discover actionable ways to turn AI into a money-making machine. And lastly, 1,000 marketing and product productivity prompts. To make sure you start strong, we're including a beginner-friendly AI course that will get you up to speed in under 10 minutes, led by our very own creative director, Arturo Ferreira. Finally, you'll be part of a thriving network of AI-driven professionals. The total value of everything inside is over $549, and today you can get it all for free. Join today and start learning AI instantly.
So yeah, I hope everyone's mind is kind of as blown as mine is as well. Obviously you're watching over this kind of as it executes, and part of that process was finding like the draft template to use. When you've been doing this in the past, has it been accessing like different websites? Does it tend to go to one source? Like, what have you seen in terms of variation in terms of the research process?
As far as the research process goes behind this prompt, I think really I just played around with this because at a minimum, you can expect all of your employees to use a project management tool like Asana, but you can't necessarily assume that they're going to use the same verbiage or they're going to communicate their findings in a way that resonates with you as the overall person in charge of the output of that project that has to go, to your CMO and say like, here's what happened with this campaign. So I specifically did a little bit of research into this prompt and just kind of looked at like, what is the summary? So like overall, what's going on? Where are the roadblocks? What is the overall timeline looking like? Just really what we need to know as far as overall zoom out this campaign is looking like, but also like what were some of the learnings? What were some of the roadblocks? And then what are some of the things that are getting in the way of us accomplishing our goal? That's really why that summary was used, because I think sometimes we get so inundated with like the details that we don't zoom out. And in the spirit of like helping people work more asynchronously, sometimes you just need that bite size, especially with that summary email. You're sending them an email with a summary and you're including the board in there. So if they have any questions, they can do more research on their own, but you're giving them the bite size, version that they need and nothing more.
Yeah, it's kind of mind blowing already, and I think I want to discuss more of this at the end in terms of the impact of this, but I think it opens up a bunch of opportunities. Something that immediately came to mind and something that's top of mind for us right now is the idea of SEO and how SEO is changing, right? So traditionally people were searching keywords in Google, but now people are searching for information a lot more through ChatGPT, through Claude, through Operator, through Perplexity. So it's like, how do we rank for LLMs and AI searching the internet? And this is something that immediately came to mind. There's going to be so many businesses that are built off the back of how Operator searches and how to rank there as well. So I'm super excited to see what value is created there as well.
It's completely disrupting SEO. So it is going to be interesting to see what happens because people aren't using Google search anymore to look for things. They're using ChatGPT because it's no longer about how much you can pay to rank on the first page. It's about value and how many people are looking at those same articles and URLs to find information. And if it says that the majority of people are looking at these links, it doesn't matter if they're not paying for ads or redirects. It's just value. And I think that that's something people have to get used to, and they're not it's interesting because like when you think about AI generated content and just AI in general, you don't think like value, but it is kind of doing something to help us in terms of value. It's leveling the playing field. It's saying you don't need a ton of money to pour into ads. You just need to bring value. And that can be really scary to companies, or it can be really refreshing, I think.
Yeah, and also like it just makes it a little more human, which seems paradoxical. But the way that you search with an AI search engine, or if you're having a conversation with it, you think about things in human terms, not top holiday destinations Reddit with just the keywords. So it's like the articles will match the same way the search terms are as well. So creating articles and content should become more human and more in line with how we talk, because that's how AI SEO is actually going to rank them as well. So that's an exciting prospect as well. And I think if I could duplicate myself, I think that's probably the area that I would go into right now. It's just such an obvious value proposition that I don't know many people really exploring. Second use case, summarizing calls around Asana. Before we jump into it, I was wondering if you could give people a quick brief of what they're about to see here.
Sure. Again, the idea behind this one was there's tons and tons of calls that happen and you don't need to be on all of them all the time. So the idea is like, how can you work more asynchronously in this day and age? And the idea for this demo was how can we look at calls that are happening and figure out in real time how maybe we don't need to be a part of those calls. Maybe they can operate and we still manage them and know what's going on during those calls and that the ball is still moving without having to physically be in those calls. So that's what people are going to start to see in this demo, is just in live time this happening and how we can work more asynchronously with getting updates from Asana projects and calls without physically having to be in them.
I love it. Let's watch it.
Hello, everyone. Okay, so since we just learned how to use our agent to go through our Asana project board, comb through every single piece of information in there, and then send us updates, we are now going to automate another very time-consuming part, in my opinion, which is summarizing the calls that take place around those Asana project boards. If it has a project board on Asana, that probably means that it is important and you have some kind of a reoccurring meeting to get together with stakeholders and go over timelines, objectives, KPIs, etc. And so the first thing that we're going to do is take those meeting transcription notes. I use Google, so I'm going to be using Gemini since it's built in, but you can use any note taker that you want. But we're going to use our agent to actually pull those meeting transcription notes. Not only are we going to do that, but we are also going to teach our agent how to send automatic emails immediately after that call ends. So let's just say, for example, we're meeting on a weekly cadence to go over campaign 2, which was my Asana project name. And if that call is weekly, I want an email to go out immediately after that call ends that has the notes, the recording, the summary, key action points, blockers, basically everything that was discussed during that call. So now, not only did we talk about it, but there is an email, so it's in writing. So let's get into it. The only tab that you need open is Operator. So I'm going to start screen sharing Operator. Perfect. Okay, so this is what my screen looks like. And the first thing that you actually want to do is go ahead and copy and paste in that first prompt. And as a reminder, here's what it looks like. We don't want to push send yet because it's not fully filled in. So it just says, you are an AI assistant that extracts key insights from Google Gemini call transcripts and sends a structured post-call email after every meeting. Do the following. And then it breaks down what that email needs to entail. Now, here's some pieces that we need to fill in. First and foremost, I always hyperlink them in so that you can't miss them. So the first thing is the Google Drive, and then the attendee emails, and then the meeting name. So I'm going to do these in order of how fast I can find the answers to these. So really quickly, the meeting name, you want to make sure that this matches up with whatever name you have on your calendar. And this is exactly what I mean. So this call that happens on a weekly basis is called Campaign 2 Weekly Call. So when I'm in Operator, where it says meeting name, I'm going to paste in Campaign 2 Weekly Call, exactly how this looks on my Google Calendar. Because what's essentially happening is Operator is going to ask us to sign in with our email, and it's going to start to understand and look at our calendar, our Google Drive, when we have these calls, what they're called, and we don't want to confuse it because we're still in the early phases of training it. So that's the first thing that you want to do. For emails, here's my call out. This technology is really, really cool. And I know that everybody just wants to automate everything all at once and get rid of all their burdens. And I feel you on that. I would urge you for the remainder of this course to just send these emails to yourself. Just spend a whole entire course sending emails to yourself and make sure that you really, really like the output before you start to send emails externally to other people, because it's going to take a minute to iterate this. The last thing that you want while you're practicing figuring out how to operate an agent and optimize one, the last thing that you want is for it to be hallucinating and sending crazy emails. So then the next and the last thing that we have to fill in is this Google Drive folder. And so wherever you keep your meetings, whatever folder in your drive you keep your meetings in, this is what you need to do. You need to go ahead and click share and then copy the link and then head back to Operator and paste this in. So right now we have a fully filled in prompt, and now we're going to go ahead and click send because we're actually ready to send it. And again, you can drop it down to see what it's doing in live time. so that we are remaining human in the loop, which is beautiful. We're watching it do all of this stuff for us. And let's just blow the screen up a little bit more so we can see better. Okay, so it's going to ask me to log in. So for this, I'm going to click take control because it's easier for me to log in. You'll notice that you don't actually have to leave the operator screen, which is still nice. So I'm just going to click log in. As you can see, I am on here quite a bit. So I do have some of my login saved, but it's still asking me to log in and verify my credentials, which is great. That is the goal. Perfect. And obviously I've run this through a few times as well. So now that I logged in, you'll notice that I gave the control back to operator. So now I'm observing. I'm no longer an active participant. I'm just observing. And you can see that it's trying to click on compose, but for whatever reason, it's not able to find it. Now, this can be for a variety of reasons, not necessarily user error. Anytime there's a feature update that OpenAI is not trained on, it might not be able to locate the button. So as you can see, it's clicking on the marketplace button. It's not able to find the compose button right away. So you might actually want to take control and click compose one time so that it stores it in its memory and it remembers how to do this. If there's any new feature update with Google or really any application that differs from how this model was trained, which we don't fully know how it was trained, then it's going to have a little bit of a hard time trying to figure out where these buttons are. So this is all I'm going to do. I'm actually just going to click this and then compose. And then I'm going to click finish up and return control to operator. So now that I taught the operator where to find the compose button, again, I went from being active to now being passive and actually just watching it work. And since it has all the information, it has the name of our call, it has my Google Drive, it has the list of attendees that it needs to email, which, spoiler, it's just myself. It is now actually going to draft that email up for me to take a look at. And right now it is filling in the details. So it is going through the memory, filling in the details. We're seeing the mouse move. And again, that is not me moving the mouse. This is the agent moving the mouse. And it should start to fill out the body of this email based on the last meeting transcription notes from that reoccurring weekly call. And as you can see, it is filling in this email. Now, I did notice something, so I'm going to go ahead and fill this in before I give it back power. I'm going to look this over. So it looks like there's some asterisks, for example, that it added in that I necessarily wouldn't have. Now, sometimes this can be an HTML feature. So whenever you do the asterisk 2 times, it usually means to bold letters. But since it is an agent and we're teaching it these things for the first time, I don't think that it understood to do that. So if I really wanted to be particular, something that I would do is I would actually go through and bold the information that I would want. Because the idea is right after we get off a call, this is the email that we all get. So we want it to be really actionable, bite-sized, not that stressful, just some cliff notes. Okay, and then I'm going to click finish up, return control to operator because I am now happy with the way this email looks. And as you can see, it just sent the email out to me. So we did it. We wrapped it up. Make sure that you like the output of the emails. That is my best piece of advice. You want to make sure that you like the emails before you start sending them to other people. We are going to be adding 2 more agentic features though. So in the next lesson, we are going to be doing a lot more to build on top of this, but this is just the start. I hope you're getting excited and you're starting to feel more confident about this crazy technology, and I'll see you in a minute.
Are you ready to take control of your future with AI? Right now, AI is reshaping industries, automating workflows, and creating opportunities for those that know how to leverage it. But if you're not staying ahead, you're falling behind. That's why we created the AI Report Pro community, the fastest, most effective way to master AI for your career and business. Imagine missing out on promotions because you're not AI savvy. Imagine your competitors automating processes while you're stuck doing things the old way. The reality is that those who don't adapt will struggle to stay relevant. AI isn't coming, it's already here, and the people who will learn it today will lead tomorrow. So what's inside the AI Report Pro community? Well, we built the AI Report to 400,000 subscribers in just 9 months. And now, we're partnered with HubSpot to bring you the most practical AI education available. Our pro newsletters and advanced resources will make you the AI leader in your field. So here's what you get. 1. Weekly ultra premium newsletters covering AI's impact on every business function. Secondly, you'll get exclusive AI gifts, guides, and cheat sheets from HubSpot to accelerate your AI adoption. Third, you'll get live Q&A sessions with top AI industry experts every single week. Lastly, you'll get cheat sheets, prompt databases, and additional resources to help you integrate AI into your work and boost efficiency. The best part, all of this is only $15 per month, a fraction of what you would pay elsewhere. Plus, you get a 7-day money-back guarantee, and if you don't 5 times your AI expertise in the first month, we'll refund you. No questions asked.
Something I noticed during this is that you paused it, you then retained control yourself, clicked on the compose button, and you're actually teaching the model to understand this is how it performs a step. Can you tell me a little bit more about memory? Like, it's blowing my mind.
I mean, it's clunky, right? This is a beta version. They just put this out 2 months ago. So you have to think about this, it's only been trained for a certain amount of time on a certain amount of knowledge. And so Google, for instance, it couldn't find the compose button, and it was clicking in the right spot, but I had my bookmark closed. Now, had I had it open, it probably would have been able to locate it. But because I changed that, because I was sharing my screen, I didn't necessarily want everyone to be able to see my labels because I have client information in there. It couldn't locate the compose button, and it didn't know how to redirect itself. So it did say in the chat, we're thinking, we're trying, we're activating, it gave me the green light, but it was just as easy for me to go in and actually manually click compose. And then it was like, got it. And it could pick up where I left off and continue with drafting that email. So it's still clunky. It's still in beta, and there's still little quirks about it. And I think that this really goes for any application. I mean, all of our tools update on a daily basis without us really knowing them. That's the difference with an agent. It doesn't adapt to these things because it only knows that old version of it. So you will have to directly take over in some instances just to show it these little differences when these tools change from day to day.
Do you ever foresee a future where there's less of that human in the loop? Like right now we're at Tesla, self-driving cars where you got to have your hands on the wheel, and we could end up at Waymo.
Yes, 100%. Absolutely. I mean, here's the thing. It's more of a societal issue, I believe, because if there is an easy way, people are going to want it, and it's going to put pressure on companies to produce it, or they're going to have to, have another company that will produce it. I mean, there will be a company that produces these things where there's a need, there's a tool that's created eventually. So yes, I do think that that's going to happen, but I also think that that's why it's so important for people to start using these tools now in the formats that they are in, to see that it really doesn't take that much time to use a tool that has built-in human in the loop capabilities like Operator does, to show yourself that you just have to keep practicing and learn the quirks about these tools. They're going to continue to get better and adapt in real time. Stick with the tools that have been around longer and have a established reputation, because there's always going to be a new shiny tool out there that does more or does less or does something different. That's already here now. But this is an interesting time. And I think that trust and transparency should be really held at a top priority for everyone. And to me, that's working with tools that have been around the longest and have this data collected.
Interesting. And then lastly, we're training agents to find suitable times to correlate calendars and update agendas. What are we about to see, and why is it important?
What you're about to see is in real time. I got really frustrated. So this was a personal demo. I got really frustrated when I had a specific campaign or initiative and I would have weekly call cadences, but then another call would take precedence. So even though I had like a weekly, meeting on everyone's calendars, there would always be something that happened, or a public holiday, or a kid was sick, that we had to change this. And so then it was, either using Microsoft scheduling tool, which just is infuriating because then you're relying on everyone having to update their availability, and I've never seen everyone update their availability to be accurate. So like that was the only option I had. And so I was like, okay, there's got to be a way to have an agent find time on everyone's calendar for these calls when these life events happen. And not only find time on everyone's calls, because again, there's tools that already do that, but it also adds a schedule and an agenda, and it dynamically can change that. So I don't have to go in and update the agenda for every single call and find times that work with everyone's schedule if this agent does. And I can get into detail about why that's important, but I feel like everyone's kind of going to breathe a sigh of relief when they hear that, because we have a note transcription tool out there. We have scheduling tools, but we don't have anything that dynamically says, here's why you should care and here's what we're going to talk about. And by the way, if you can't make this call, it's okay. Our agent's going to continue to schedule something that works for everyone, and we don't have to go back and forth. So now I'm not wasting my time with emails or asking questions or going through the old meeting to find what the next action steps are. It's just happening in real time.
Let's watch it.
All right, you can leave your operator chat exactly where we left it. We're just going to pick up right where we left off by copying and pasting in that first prompt that says 1 hour before each scheduled call, generate and send a structured pre-meeting email. The email should be clear, concise, and provide the meeting details, the agenda overview, and then what attendees should prepare, as well as final reminders. So don't forget to actually pause before you send this because it's an incomplete prompt. So for the meeting name, we actually need to fill that out before we send it. And then we additionally need to add the time as well as the meeting link in here for those 1 hour brief calls. So I'm going to go ahead and grab the Google Meet link and paste it in here. And then for the date and time, the next one is scheduled for February 17th at 12:30 Eastern time. So I'm going to say February 17th, 12:30 p.m. Eastern time. And now I'm going to send it. Perfect. So if this does what we wanted it to do, it should be sending me this email at 11:30 a.m. Eastern time so that I'm receiving this 1 hour before my scheduled call, which it looks like it is doing. I can see it is scheduled. Perfect. It did exactly what we wanted it to do. And that is how you get reoccurring meeting briefs sent directly to your email 1 hour before the call time. All right, we've got one more section in store, so hop on over to the last section and let me know what you think so far.
All right, we're back. I think the immediate thing here is like, in the past, X person has a virtual assistant, Y person has an assistant. We both need to correlate our calendars. You guys talk to each other, check the calendars, check with the person, and then book us in the calendar. And now that no longer needs to exist, perhaps?
I don't think so. I think that also if you ask people that were assistants, especially virtual assistants, what they want to be doing and what kind of experiences they want to have, I don't really know anybody that would be like, I want to continue to schedule calls and find times when executives commute with other executives, you know? I don't think that anyone's going to say that. I think that I'm not saying that we don't need virtual assistants anymore or executive assistants. I'm just saying we still need them. I think we could just be using them for better purposes. And I think that they would actually appreciate that more, because then the level of experiences they get to have actually prepare them for other roles in different times of their lives that perhaps they want, or just different visibility in rooms and in situations that they necessarily wouldn't have gotten if they were still inundated with this type of work.
It's a really good point. And I think in general, people look at this job displacement through a really negative lens. Like automatically it's the way to go, is that like AI is going to ruin everything and take everyone's job. But in a lot of cases, it might enrich them and provide more time for them to focus on high value things that they actually enjoy more than scheduling calendars, as you said.
Right. And it's almost like a crutch to the person who is being managed, because what if you go from, like, how are you supposed to go from one role where you've had an assistant to going into another role where perhaps they don't have the budget for an assistant, but perhaps this is a job and a company or an experience that you've been craving for your resume? What are you going to do? You're going to be held back and you're going to be limited because you haven't been using technology to help you optimize your schedule and work more efficiently. And then you're kind of a liability for that new company. And also the old company didn't do you any favors by continuously having someone do things for you, right? It's an interesting, I think, paradox where I think just in general, this technology is being used more for what it should be used for instead of just collecting technical debt.
Beyond administrative roles, another kind of use case I see is sales. I see that used a lot right now as AI SDRs. It's a massive thing right now. Is there any other kind of use cases that through your past month of experience with Operator, you're like, okay, this would be perfect in this industry or that industry? And I'm curious of that through the lens of both you personally as Ashley and just like wider lens as well for businesses in general.
Sure. Personally, for me, I'm probably never going to have an AI SDR just because sales is human to human. And I think it's so personal. And for me, I've received all of my clients from word of mouth and just being a marketer for 10 years. So I think that having just the reputation and trust in something like AI and especially consulting, that's done more for me than having my sales processes automated. So I think it's on a deeply personal level for each individual. More so, what are you not good at, and like that's where you can start to implement AI. And so for me, coding. I had never really been super good at coding, but I can use ChatGPT and say, like, write me a code for XYZ. This is what I need. And it will write the code. And then if I plug it into, the terminal and it gives me an error code, I can then copy and paste that error code into ChatGPT and it rewrites the code for me. So like that's mind blowing and really, really wild. So I think that engineering, but also like specifically market engineers, I see that very much being like a go-to-market engineer. I very much see that being like a new term that's going to be in the market as far as new job opportunities and roles go. Having people from marketing backgrounds understand the engineering and the technological side behind, okay, we're on a website. What is an HTML code, or what is something that we could put on the website to collect information about prospects without them necessarily having to click on any link? Just so we know, like, what does that first digital touch point look like? Those kinds of conversations and questions I see being perfect for AI, but also complementing humans in general, because that's a new role that hasn't really been around. And so in order for marketers to become go-to-market engineers, they're going to have to learn how to code a little bit, and they're going to have to learn and lean into this technology, which is a great place for AI and vice versa. AI can give you all these coding tools and information, but it can't make you understand marketing or the complexities of humans like humans understand just naturally. So I see that being a really interesting field and opportunity. I don't know. I guess we'll see.
As you described, roles and opportunities in industries are changing by the minute. So I'm curious, from your perspective, what personality trait do you think is going to be the most important and pertinent to succeed in this new world?
Curiosity. It sounds so cheesy, but if you think about like innovation, if you were to go online right now and type in like innovative companies, you would have millions of Google search pages that pop up because everybody loves to put that word into their branding and their marketing. We're innovative. We're an innovative company. We have innovative solutions. And it's like, if you just think about what innovation actually means, it's being curious. That's the backbone of innovation. And so people that are taking a minute to say like, okay, Operator AI, right? That's a new thing that came out. $200. That's a little bit steep. That's an interesting price. What can it do? Okay. Or do any tools in my tech stack do that right now? Yes. Okay. Do I know how to use those? If no, perhaps I test this out with specific use cases and try to automate this many things in this much time. And then just take this as a use case, and perhaps it's just a proof of concept that stays a proof of concept. But maybe if there's value in it and it was easy for me to do and teach to others, maybe this is a pilot project. And now instead of just me, Ashley, knowing this, my whole team knows this. And then this changes how much time it takes to communicate what our process looks like to other people, which frees up our time to focus on higher strategic activities. It's just this nice little domino effect, but it all starts with being curious and asking questions. And I think that as a society, we kind of forget sometimes that we're not supposed to know everything. And that doesn't make us naive at all. It's almost freeing because not one person's not going to know the answer to everything. And likewise, one person can't be good at everything. You just can't. It's impossible. So why don't you figure out what you are good at and then what you're not good at? There's a tool out there. or other people out there that are good at it.
Do you think curiosity can be taught, or is always innate, or is a balance of both?
I don't think that it can be taught, to be totally honest. I think it's something that is unique, but I do think that it can be a skill set that is honed. So maybe I think everybody to a certain degree is curious. I think that it is a skill that you can get better at, but I think that the ability to be curious does live in individuals, and I don't necessarily think that everybody has it. And that's okay. If you're someone that doesn't have that, hire people that do. Find your complements and counterparts that do. So it's more so just taking a benchmark of who you are and how you operate, and then like what you need, and humbling yourself to bring in the people that you need. A lot of people that are really successful, they have equally, if not more, staff that are smarter than they are. And the difference is they're not trying to pretend like they aren't. They're not trying to take credit for everything. If you listen to the way, these people speak, they are giving all the credit to their staff and giving all of the commiserations to them, and just saying like, I hired them, so like good for me, but like they really are the ones going out there and experimenting because I don't have the time to, or it's uncomfortable for me, and then they're reporting back to me. And then maybe I'm just making the budgetary decisions. But it's just finding what works for you, and complementing what you have and what you don't have.
Yeah, I think I had a conversation with an education AI company a couple of weeks ago, and something that you mentioned is that the education system just isn't currently built for what's coming. Like the education system currently is built for adherence and repetition and doing well at tests. And ultimately, in this new world that's coming, like it's just not going to be of value anymore. Can I memorize X amount of facts? Like it's not a useful skill anymore. It's like, how can I fit different project parts together and be creative and hone that creativity as well? So something is going to have to change at a higher level as well to be able to work with this. I don't have kids myself, but it's going to be something that's on my mind when I do have them at some point.
That's a great call out.
Thank you. I want to pose one hypothetical for us to finish off with some creativity. All right. So the people developing Operator, the marketing department, the product department, they all quit, they all sign off. ChatGPT, OpenAI, the entire team, they see this video right here and they're like, Ashley, she's the expert. She is the person that we need to lead development for this. And they hire you and they put you at the top. So you're now completely in charge of how this product goes in the future. Where are you leading development down and why?
I would probably say they've already gotten this pretty down pat, but with their projects right now in ChatGPT that they just rolled out, one, I would add the ability to share those projects with certain people. So almost like a mini project management system within ChatGPT. And then how I would connect Operator to that is, instead of having to go into a separate place where Operator exists, I would have it live in the same window as ChatGPT. So as I'm in these projects, let's just say that maybe I organize my projects by marketing teams. So essentially, like I have a project for every department within marketing. So I have my own mini org in there. And then within each of those teams, they have the ability to bring Operator into their project management space and select tasks that maybe they are using, the chat, maybe they're using 4.0 to research things, but then maybe they get to a point in their research where they're like, okay, I understand where we need to go from here. Let's pull in Operator to start automatically doing this task so that I can focus on something else. So maybe they start their mission and they're like, for instance, going in and doing like a competitive analysis, right? Maybe marketing leadership said, we need to run a campaign against this competitor because the CEO wants us to. And the product marketing team's like, oh, I don't know if that's necessarily where our time should be invested. Let me, as a human, go start to do some research and see if this is even a threat. And they start chatting in ChatGPT 4.0. And they find that, okay, maybe this is, maybe there's some facts here, and building a case for actually, throwing a wrench in the marketing plan and pipeline to focus on this competitor. And they say, okay, great. We've established that this is definitely a competitor and this is definitely a risk. We need to start putting marketing material out. Operator, come on in and start to build out and scrape this competitor's website to tell us what they have in comparison to our product that we don't have on ours. Something that they do not need to do, that is busy work that can be automated and is perfect for Operator. And then Operator compiles just a bunch of SKUs from scraping their competitor's website and says, here's all of the things you don't have. And then from there, it releases the reins back to a human. And then from there, they can start typing out an outline for a white paper or whatever they want to do. But it's this more back and forth relationship as opposed to here's Operator in one tab, here's ChatGPT in another. And I have to manually copy and paste what's happening from one screen to the next, which is not cohesive of what marketers need to do. We need less windows and less tools and more optimization and flow.
I'm not going to add anything more. That was perfect. I don't want to ruin it. I don't want to ruin it. Ashley, I want to thank you for your time and coming on today and for the emergency operator episodes. I had an amazing time.
As did I. Thank you for having me.